All right, hi, I'm Jack, and for my last day at South by Southwest, in my first session was mindfulness, the cornerstone of the human firewall. And there were two members from AMP Creative, which is a technology company, emphasizes in cybersecurity, but they also have a huge emphasis on mindfulness as well. So I'll just go into that to start. They kind of gave a scenario of one of those times where something is going crazy or emails are off the hook. You've got 1,000 things going on, and your VP wants you in a Zoom meeting, and then someone wants you to send them gift cards or something, and it's all just a bunch of stuff that goes on. And they explain that sometimes the emails that you get in your workday can actually be fraudulent, and many times there are people that will go and make it look like it's real when it's really not, and it's called phishing. So they kind of explain that a little bit more, but how it can further exacerbate the problem of lack of mindful awareness in your day, and 1,000 things going on can lead to even more stresses throughout the day. And they just talked about how cybersecurity is getting more and more prominent, and there are some important things that hackers will do in order to get a response from you. For example, if they impersonate a person of authority, they can easily find out through LinkedIn and various other resources where you kind of are in the organization chart and who's your boss and who you have daily communication with. So they can make it seem very realistic and actually use people that you know against you. And another part of it is urgency. Oftentimes they will set a time limit for how long you have until you need to complete this specific thing for them. And that can definitely create a lot of anxiety and make you feel like you need to do it as soon as possible. And then the last one was awareness or lack thereof. And that has to do with scammers kind of redirecting you and making you think that their email is important when it really is just a scam. A common example is when a scammer gives you a login and an email or and a password info, and then you put in your details into the site, and then they have your information basically, and it looks exactly like the site. You oftentimes get directed to the site that you were trying to be logged into, and it's just very subtle and quick ways that they can grab your attention or divert you or distract you. So those are important mistakes. And then they talked about mindfulness a lot, and how they integrate it into their system. And we actually did 2 live meditations in there for a couple minutes. Just one of them, actually, Lisa was a mindfulness coach, so she walked us through a couple meditations. She does it with her employees pretty much every day. So we did that. It was interesting. She kind of told us to focus on our breath and be able to notice sensations within our body and how we're actually feeling. So that was good, and actually made me feel a lot more relaxed. I liked it. I love the topic of mindfulness anyway. I think it's really interesting. So she also talked about how you should implement mindfulness into your company for those of the people that are entrepreneurs. It can really take some time to get people to buy into it, especially if they have reservations about kind of what how they feel about mindfulness and think some people think it's useless, but just merely getting people to do it, they've noticed that people end up initiating it on their own, and that actually can help. She talked about the signals in the brain that scammers kind of target, which is your amygdala response, which is the fear center in your brain and emotion, and your limbic system. And basically what happens is when your amygdala gets stimulated, your amygdala becomes the driver and not your prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain that does a lot of the decision making and more of the logical thinking. So that can happen, and your body gets flooded with stress hormones. The prefrontal cortex goes offline, and there's a lot of things that can go wrong. And it's kind of actually the act of breathing can activate your prefrontal cortex again instead of your limbic system. And just that subtle taking a deep breath can change things for you a lot.